Hello, welcome. Today and the entire day talking about payments at the Mobile Ecosystem Forum and our event MEF Connect Digital Transformation. Now, one thing we like to do in general is to invite some of the senior executives out there to have a chat about themselves, because we are MEF Connect people, not just the company. So I'd like to know what they do, what makes them tick, but also their view of their own company and how the market develops. It's going to be a nice 20 minutes, I suspect, of introvision into the market, but possibly into the person. And today, the person is Martin Koppel, the CEO and co-founder of Fortumo. Hello, Martin.
Hello. Hi. I hope you can hear and see me well.
Perfect. It's perfect, and thanks for joining us from your office. I see you're back in your office in Estonia. Is that correct?
Yes, happily back in office in Estonia.
Good. Now, Martin, we're gonna start asking a few more questions about yourself first, and I'm gonna pick it up on the Estonian because I've read about you. That you've been defined, and I quote here to be correct, part of the Estonian new wave of entrepreneurs. Tell us what that is. Are you meeting every month and planning to conquer the world from Estonia with all the other entrepreneurs? What's the new wave of Estonian entrepreneurs?
Yes, you're correct. So every Wednesday evening there is a secret society gathering where we catch up. But actually, there are formal and informal gatherings, and I think something which Estonia is very unique for is, and it started off with the whole Skype ecosystem, and where some people got more experience about international business, everything around the internet, how things can be done. And despite the fact that Estonians are actually pretty closed people who do not interact too much, then I think what we've done really well is that we created the movement where actually founders of tech companies were able to talk to each other. So there were different gatherings, and people could actually share their experiences. So in that way, it wasn't just people doing their own things, but just helping each other, and it helped a lot of newcomers to learn faster and avoid some of the mistakes that was made. So I think that's the key.
So actually, we find out there is such a thing. That's great. And for all our global listeners and viewers out there, Estonia is a relatively younger country and a small country in the Baltic part of it. Used to be part of the USSR, and now it seems to be generating a lot of interesting companies. And Fortumo is one of them. I should just remind that only last year, Fortumo was part of a acquisition from Boku. So you're now part of a bigger group. And I should say that makes you a young, successful entrepreneur, rich as well. I think quite a few people out there at this point might feel a bit jealous. I need to help them out. Tell us, what didn't you manage to do so far? What haven't you done yet?
Well, I think the list goes long. What I haven't done yet. I mean, I'm 35, so I have a lot. I at least hope that I live another 35 years, if not more. But yeah, I think a lot of my time and effort has been going into changing the payments landscape. So we've been trying to change that with Fortumo for the past 14 years almost, and now doing the very same in the Boku group together in a bigger family. So if you ask it in a way, no, I don't have a boat. I haven't sailed across the oceans. Haven't jumped off the hot air balloon. So I haven't done a lot of the things, but I might do those in the future. But most of the time has been spent on planes, traveling, understanding what's broken in the payment industry, and how can we help the merchants to expand to new destinations which were locked for them in the past.
Now, the all was very interesting questions. I need to ask some more about that. But before I go there, now Fortumo, many of you would know, it's a global direct carrier billing platform. As I said, last year in June, if I'm not mistaken, acquired by Boku for $41 million. And then we'll check with you as well. So things in the last 12 months of success, so, the completions of the event. Now, question is to a lot of people out there: is what's happening to the Fortumo brand? What happens is being part of Boku? What's the plan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in order to answer that, I would actually take like one step back, and then when we take a lot of consolidation has happened in the market. And actually, Boku's CEO has a good saying, John Brideau has a good saying, is that bigger is better, which means that when you're, which sort of from the acquisition perspective makes sense, because when you're bigger, then you're able to do more and push the boundaries more in order to provide better value to the merchants. And it's especially true in the carrier billing space. So why this deal happened eventually was it was like two fashion houses coming together, whereas where Boku piece of the puzzle was focused on doing very deep integration to AAA merchants, doing tailored suits. Whereas Fortumo was solving the other part of the equation, solving the inefficiency of the market and enabling all the other merchants to get easy access. So on one side we have this full automated fast fashion brand, and then we have this tailored suit brand, which got together in order to actually cover the whole market. How it continues is that Fortumo will continue with the same focus and same strategy within the group. So of course there are a lot of synergies between the group itself, but fundamentally the two different brands will continue, and we continue addressing different parts of the market, with the difference that now actually we can utilize common infrastructure and then help each other out, because bigger is better.
Bigger is better. So if I understand your different fashion brands, you have a different segment, a different type of customers. Is it then smaller customers? Are they SMEs or are they cooperators? How would you define your customers now?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we both work with Googles and likes of these. But when we talk about the DCB, then the differentiator is that Fortumo in the group is today focused on becoming the platform of choice for direct carrier billing, helping developers, regardless of the size, to get into the e-wallets, into the DCB business, whereas the whole Boku business continues to support all those AAA merchants with whom they've been working, and also moving more into the whole commerce play with different local payment methods.
Okay, so we're going to see you probably coexist, but focusing on if I understand, the smaller market, the smaller companies, still large companies, but within relative size to the Boku larger and more tailored solutions out there. That's you brought up with the wallet as well, and then I need to ask you: is what's happening in the mobile payments as an industry out there? There seems to be a direct carrier billing, there seems to be a wallet, there seems to be even a new wave of the bundling element, if you want, all happening under the sun. What's your view? What's happening right now? And more interestingly, what's going to happen in the next few years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, it's pretty interesting time. So on the macro level, we see so many stars aligning. and it's uncertain how they will align eventually. But there are a couple of changes happening already. So one thing is definitely the rise of e-wallets and digital wallets in different regions. So definitely today we see that in Southeast Asia, the e-wallets have they've been existing for 10 years, but they've started to boom, and then the market has changed significantly in 2 years. So on that side, there are some effects to the direct carrier billing, but again, e-wallets are very strongly and broadly used on the commerce area, and less on digital payments, but it is affecting the market, which means that we see almost everybody on the DCB market also adopting, or if they haven't done it yet, then adopting e-wallets and providing them on the side with the DCB, so that there's a lot of coexisting. But if I'm looking to the future, I don't see that the e-wallets will be replacing direct carrier billing in general or even regionally, because direct carrier billing and the connection with the mobile still remains sort of the payment method which has the widest coverage and biggest number of subscribers. But what we're also seeing, and that's clearly changing, and then this is moving more to Middle East, less happening in Europe. But what's interesting these days is all the changes around app stores. So there are all different court cases around Apple and around Google, which have already made or resulted to some changes in the App Store policies, which has led to certain changes. So what I have in mind is that today officially gaming and also mobile gaming is coming back to their self-managed payments. So when back in the days a lot of that was concealed under the umbrella of app stores, then we see more and more bigger developers building out their own payment infrastructure. And with the latest updates or latest trends, this is now also allowed, at least by Google, if you run an independent commerce platform for your mobile games as well, as long as you don't directly link from your app. So definitely we see some of the changes and more and more developers trying to consolidate. So it's interesting to see what will happen. We will most probably see smaller brands getting aligned with Steam, with the Epic Store and likes of those. But we will most probably see more and more alternative app stores or commerce websites popping up to consolidate all the smaller developers. I would say that most probably most of them will not make it, and there will be a consolidation, but that's down the road. But yeah, I think the main message here for DCB is that gaming is back. It's gaming volume 2, so a lot is happening. On the other side, we see carrier fees have changed across the different geos, Southeast Asia, Europe, Middle East, in many places, which has opened up direct carrier billing to new verticals which were not available in 3, 4, or 5 years. So we're talking about micromobility, we're talking about e-scooters, parking, even electrical car chargers. So the fee structure today already allows to do that level of commerce, which is interesting. And then definitely media companies which are changing their business models. So they're not ad supported, they're getting more into digital subscriptions. So we're seeing actually a lot of new segments and new businesses either coming or adopting direct carrier billing because of the fee structure changes or because of their business model has changed. So definitely we will have interesting times ahead, and we'll see whether we will end up with 2 or 3 main app stores in 3 years, or maybe we'll have them 20. I would imagine it's option one, but most probably down the road we will have more than 1 or 2 app stores out there.
So not a dull moment in the world of mobile payments, it seems. Just as you've seen, the two major one come into dominance. They get, as you remember, being challenged in court, at least by Epic, Steam, and many others. So some things is changing. And then you probably mentioned indirectly about Huawei, or who knows, somebody else, Samsung Bank, and something new might not come. But I see behind you, and I want to ask you, the scream from Edward Munch, probably not the original one, but a very well done reproduction, which I have to ask. So what are you worried about in this market? What would make you scream right now? Is there anything that it's particularly on your mind?
That's a good question. It's this classical question when somebody asks, and I always I don't have the answer. Maybe I have too much to worry about. But I think on one side it's on the regulation side in EU. So there are different things changing. So definitely need to watch out for that. But I think for everybody in the industry, the biggest worry in their head is where to get enough good people. So I think right now in the industry, we do have way more opportunities than we are able to actually execute or do. And the biggest worry is like, how can we scale up the business and have those people in place to do everything. And I worry less about other things. So carrier billing is an interesting. So we've been in business for 14 years. Carrier billing is an interesting place where I think like 2 or 3 times during that time, basically the market or the main market has been cut, and everybody have had to adjust and rebuild all of their business and then get to the right direction. So I think that gets you certain resilience, and you understand that you have to navigate the tough waters, and you have to navigate when everything is nice and the wind is from the right direction. Right now, I think we are in a situation where we have a pretty favorable wind, and everybody has diversified their business enough that actually the rough waters will not shake them too much. So I think we will have very, very interesting times ahead.
Well, very, very good. I like the interesting times ahead. It seems to be a bit of a theme. There's a lot of optimism. We heard today from different voices as well. I do remind when MEF was involved in some of those difficult times, where it was Brazil, Indonesia, in Russia, when there was a massive drastic reductions. But I think on top of the differentiation we heard, the industry is really improving its quality. I think overall, partly through bigger and better, but we've seen a more professional approach to some of the markets. So I like to see that continuing. The discussions is happening, as you know, a MEF every day. I'd love to have it for Fortumo, and we already have a Boku group as well as part of these discussions, where we're trying to make it all a better wind for the industry, I think I'd like to say. Martin, great. I think that's probably all the time we have, but because this is a question, so many questions for me to you, I'd like to ask you to finish up is the last few words on Fortumo, yourself. What would you like to leave as a message to the rest of the industry?
I would just say that I think 2020 was a terrible year for everybody. Not necessarily for business, but personal life. Everything around what we did was turned upside down. So my only wish is that we have a second half of 2020. So let's try to live significantly better life, and hopefully in 2022 we're back to a normal place, and everybody can again meet each other in physical conferences and do some business travels and meet at airports.
Well, Martin, can't wait until we see you face to face, hopefully in one of the events soon, and everybody else. But I think, once again, I'm running over, I think, our allocated time. So unfortunately, I think we have to say goodbye. Martin, thanks again. Until next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.